for a long time to come to get it back together. When I'm president, I will stand with you until the communities are fully rebuilt. Every single inch of every property will be fully rebuilt, greater and more beautiful than it was before. You're going to have better. What happened to this neighborhood and the communities all across North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Alabama, Virginia, Tennessee was an act of absolute devastation. Helene's vicious floodwaters tore wives from the arms of their husbands, mudslides buried entire families. Grandparents died alongside their grandchildren. Homes, towns, farms, roads, bridges, schools throughout the region, they now lie in ruin. So beautiful an area, so beautiful it was. But it'll be more beautiful. But you can never forget the death, the death. All of America shares your sorrow and your grief over the past few weeks. This region has seen an extraordinary hardship, but in the midst of such terrible tragedy, we have also seen the extraordinary love that binds us together as Americans. And it does indeed. I want to thank our great first responders. They've never let us down. This was a tough one, but they never let us down. And the emergency personnel who leapt into action with such great heroism, including the incredible firefighter and his nephew who lost their lives trying to save their neighbors. A lot of heroes really developed with this. They'll be talked about for a long time to come. They will not be forgotten. Thanks also to the many wonderful charities and service organizations that have become so familiar to so many. The burden of the response has been incredible. In the wake of this horrible storm, firefighter and his nephew who lost their lives trying to save their neighbors. A lot of heroes really developed with this. They'll be talked about for a long time to come. They will not be forgotten. Thanks also to the many wonderful charities and service organizations that have become so familiar to so many. The burden of the response has been incredible. In the wake of this horrible storm, many Americans in this region felt helpless and abandoned and left behind by their government. And yet in North Carolina's hour of desperation, the American people answered the call, much more so than your federal government, unfortunately. Citizens poured into Western North Carolina from all over the country, bringing food, water, fuel, medical aid, even helicopters, and their own rescue standards started, and they started at a very high level, credible, what they've done. Having no experience, they learned very quickly, but they've helped so much. Nothing is more inspiring than to see the American spirit triumph over adversity with the most selfless acts of generosity and love. One of the patrons who stepped forward to help was Adam Smith, a former Green Beret. Adam transformed the parking lot of a Harley-Davidson dealership into a makeshift airbase to help distribute supplies, did an incredible job. Adam, what an amazing act of citizenship and service. And I think Adam might be here. Where's Adam? Adam, come on up here. Say a few words, Adam. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Great job. I've seen him on television quite a bit. What a job you've done. Thank you.
Can I give you something before I speak?
Thank you.
This is a little token from the guys.
Beautiful. Thank you very much.
That's been with us since the third day. That's for you. And this is the moniker they've given us.
Thank you very much. I'm going to say
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate it.
Please.
I just want to say thank you for coming. Thank you for everybody here. The biggest fear that Western North Carolina is sitting on right now, at least from the communities we've talked to, is being forgotten. And to have you here and have an opportunity to have this conversation at a national level will keep Western North Carolina on the map and not leave the communities holding the bag on the back end of this. So we're very grateful that you've shown up, and we're very grateful that you've taken the time. We're also appreciative in the timeline that you did it. Gave us space to operate and function and gave us space to provide relief where it needed to go. And we're very grateful for that, Mr. President.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Great job. Thank you very much. We're also joined by Brian Burpo owner of Diamondback 4x4, where we are today. And Brian, you have a very interesting story to tell. Do you mind telling it?
No, not at all. Thank you. So I got a phone call from my general manager, and he said, well, the building's underwater. And I couldn't believe it because the river is so far away from us, and I thought he was just playing a joke or whatever else. But we finally made our way to the building, and I couldn't believe what I saw when I got off the Swannanoa exit. We lost bridges, we've lost businesses, we lost homes, we've lost people. The devastation here is just not anything I would have ever imagined. So I thank all of the first responders, all of the nonprofit organizations that have come to our aid to help with the machinery and the people, the hands, the boots on deck. It's amazing. I am overwhelmed by generosity. And even with everything that's going on in our country today, for the past 3 weeks, that was put to the side. And everybody joined together and lent a hand. Some people couldn't be here, so they sent their contributions with somebody else, and they indirectly helped. We need those people still. We need that support. We're good on water, though. We got plenty of water, so we're good on water. But we have pallets of water laying around if anybody needs water. But we are very humbled and honored that that you guys keep us in your minds and in your prayers. We're going to need that for quite some time. So, as there are still families that are displaced from each other, pray for peace for those folks, some peace of mind. Mr. President, I can't thank you enough for coming out. I've had in the back of my mind, I even made a comment to somebody. Trump would just show up. Trump would just show up. We need it. We need that shot of hope in the arm. We need that. We need to know we're going to be okay and not forgotten.
You won't be.
Thank you.
You won't be.
Thank you.
Get it done together. Thank you very much. Great job. And Mike Stewart, the owner of Pineview Buildings, is here. Mike? Mike, please. How are you? Thank you. Good job.
Yeah, we had a business right across the street, like with the Swannanoa River flowing on the backside of it, and we lost everything. We had 70 plus buildings, and we drove here 2 days later, and there wasn't one building that was ours, but there were houses and trailers and tankers and all sorts of things that were strewn across. There are a lot of people who lost everything, including loved ones. And I believe that you can serve as a great inspiration to this community right now. And the reason being is I think God's given you an indomitable spirit. And no matter what gets thrown at you, you find a way to press through. And I think that'll serve as an inspiration to this community to press on and move forward. I can't think of anything I'd rather have than a warrior leading our country, a warrior who, with the help of God and with faith and prayer, will lead this community, these communities, and this country to greatness. So thank you for being here today. Appreciate it.
Come here. I never heard anything. And that was from the heart. No speechwriter could write that.
Thank you.
Right?
If you don't mind, just because my heart's about to beat, do you mind if I pray for you?
Yes, please.
Okay. So, and all those that are prayers, would you join with me in this prayer? Father, I thank you for this man that you have raised up in this moment, in this season, for your purposes. And I pray that you would anoint him, that things aren't done just by might or by power, but by your spirit. So I ask that you would anoint President Donald Trump and give him a spirit of wisdom and understanding and insight as he moves to lead this nation back to greatness. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Bless you.
Wow.
Bless you.
Wow, that's something. You don't hear that often. It's incredible. And I appreciate that from both and from everybody. That's really nice. I would like to thank some of the people that have come. Senator Ted Budd, who's been so fantastic, a great senator, and become a very popular senator, too, highly respected in Washington, D.C. And he's here, and I'd like him just to say a couple of words. Ted, if you don't mind, please come on up.
Mike, I want to thank you for your prayers for the president and for this region, because people who first looked at this and they said this might be days or weeks, but this is going to take months and years. And Mr. President, I'm grateful for you coming here. And I want you all to know, as the president and I spoke with his team, he was like, when can we come to North Carolina? I said, soon, Mr. President, but there's a lot of work to be done. And nobody understands that like a builder, how to build, or in this case, how to rebuild something. So, Mr. President, I appreciate you coming here, your heart for the people, your love for them. And it's going to take a lot of work for Western North Carolina. And I don't think anybody that's running for office understands it as well as you do. So thank you for coming, for your understanding, for your love for this country. And we look forward to making what's a great area greater once again. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. Great job. Interestingly, I came actually right after the storm. I'd like you to know that. And I came to North Carolina, but this was so rough, so bad, we couldn't come in. Didn't want to come in, actually, because I wanted you to do what you had to do. I didn't want to be in anybody's way. But we were in North Carolina immediately right after the storm, first one. And I said, you got to let them just work for a little while. And believe it or not, a lot of progress has been made. You look at how it is, hard to believe, but a lot of progress has been made. So it was an honor to be here very early. Thank you very much. Also, along with the senator, who really has been doing fantastically well, I'm proud of him, Representatives Chuck Edwards and Virginia Fox. Okay, where's Chuck? Please.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you, Mr. President. Thanks so much for taking the time to come to Western North Carolina. We've seen other folks do a flyover. It is so heartening to see you here with some dust on your shoes, actually seeing what's taking place. It means so much to the folks here whose lives have been turned upside down, whose homes have been destroyed, whose lost loved ones, whose businesses have been destroyed. We're so incredibly honored that you're going to help keep the emphasis on us rebuilding this beautiful community. For those of you who did not get to see it, I offered, because, you know, I also own McDonald's restaurants. I know that you perfected your skills behind the counter a day or so ago, and it was my honor to present President Trump with the French fry certification pin. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much.
God bless you.
That's really nice.
All right.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Good job. Well, thank you very much. Tim Moore is here, your very special House Speaker, and he's been a great friend of mine for a long time. And thank you very much for where are you, Tim?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Come on, say a couple of words.
Thank you. Well, I'll just say, as the Speaker of the State House, I've not gotten a single call from the White House, but this man and his team have been in touch with us from day one. And, Mr. President, I appreciate that and looking forward to seeing you back in the White House. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Great job. And Shane Hilliard, your wonderful sheriff. Appreciate it, huh? Great job. You've been busy, I guess, a little bit, huh? A little bit busier than you're supposed to be. Thank you, Sheriff. And a friend of ours, Linda McMahon, who's been incredible. She was in charge of the small business group in Washington, and it was actually a big business, and she did incredibly. They told me the other day you were the best there ever was at that, and we appreciate it very much. Great job. Thank you very much, Linda. I also want to thank everyone who supported the GoFundMe. We set it up right after the storm left, almost immediately, and I authorized a lot of people to help, and those affected by Hurricane Helene were badly affected, and nothing can really really make amends for what happened, especially when it came to the death. The property you're going to end up having bigger and better and nicer and everything, but the death was horrendous. And to date, we raised $8 million, of which $7 million has been distributed to the various charities that are helping you, and the rest is going to go. And if you people have some recommendations, I'd like to have them. We helped Franklin Graham. He's done such a great job. And some of the others that have done a great job. And if you have recommendations, I'd like to have them, because we have more coming and we have more already in the till. So we raised $8 million, which is great. That's contributions from a lot of great people, okay? But give us those recommendations if you would. I'd like to take them and do it the way you'd like to do, right? Thank you very much. We've distributed these funds directly to the organizations already. And there's going to be a lot of additional funds coming, I believe. Today, I'm promising the people of this state that when I'm president, if I'm president, I feel better saying that, because you never want to take something like that for granted. I feel actually a little bit better. They always say, oh, please, don't say that, sir. Say when. We have to vote, and they have to get out and vote. And we can't have 4 more years of what we've just had. That I can tell you. But I will support and totally complete the rebuilding of every region and town and city that was devastated by the hurricane, and I will slash through every bureaucratic barrier that you're having already and having problems with right now, I understand pretty badly, to help you get back on your feet. And I will personally recruit businesses from all over the world to help restore the prosperity to the region. They'll be moving in. There are going to be a lot of businesses are going to be moving back to our country through the proper use of taxation, incentives, and tariffs, one of the most beautiful words that nobody understands, or very few people understand. He understands it. But we're going to be using tariffs and good, proper taxation, and very importantly, incentives. And we're going to have a lot of people moving back to your state and this region, but your state. They're going to be very interested in North Carolina. We'll stop throwing our money overseas, and we're going to let our country benefit. We're going to put America first. It's time we put America first. We've been helping countries for 50 years. We've been helping them for 50 years, never stops. And when we need help from them, they're not there. So that's the way it is. But it's vital that we not let this hurricane that has taken so much also take your voice. You must get out and vote. The polls are open for early voting every day between now and November 2nd. And, you know, the thing that amazes me most is areas such as this and others where it's so hard to vote. People have lost their homes. They've sometimes lost members of their family. Do you know they've set a record in voting? Can you believe it? I mean, last year, everything was beautiful, perfect, no problem. They beat last year. They beat every record, and presidential records too. Your voting records have all been beaten, and people, I don't know, I don't even know where they're living. Their house is gone, and they were standing in line ready to vote. So you have amazing people here, Michael, really amazing. One of them is Michael Watley. He was the head of your Republican Party. He was so good and did such a great job. We won the state twice. But he did such a great job. I said, that's the guy I want, because he was very much into stopping the steal. We don't want the steal. We want a fair election, an honest election. And you got it here. He actually hired 603 lawyers. Can you imagine that? And I said, who's that guy? That's the guy I want. And now he heads the whole party, the whole shebang. And now I can blame him if something happens. And I'll say, well, I made a mistake. I'll send him back. But I don't think that's going to happen based on what we're hearing from early returns, which are really phenomenal. The early returns are phenomenal. If you had to relocate because of the storm, you do not have to return to your home county. You can request a ballot for your temporary housing location, but you need to make sure you do it today. Today's your last day. So get out and get that done and vote. But so far, you've really been, I don't have to talk to anybody. They're literally setting records with this kind of devastation. I think it's an amazing tribute. That's an amazing tribute that something like that could happen. So to everyone here in North Carolina, we love you. Together we'll pull it through. We bless you, and God bless you, and God bless America. We're gonna make our nation stronger and better, more beautiful, and a more joyful, to use a phrase from somebody else that doesn't really believe it. But we're going to make it a more joyful place. We're going to do things that nobody thought were possible. We're going to have our country back. We're going to grab our country. We're going to take it back. We're a nation in decline. We're not going to be a nation in decline for much longer, that I can tell you. And we're going to make America great again. Very simple. It's a very simple slogan. It's the greatest movement in the history of our country. We're going to make America great again. I'd like to ask, if I might, Michael Watley to come up and say a few words. He's been working about 29 hours a day, I would say, on average, right? He's been working very hard. And please come up and say a few words, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, as a son of Western North Carolina, I was in Watauga County with Samaritan's Purse recently and got a chance to see the devastation that all of these communities have hit. I think it is tremendously important that you are here. I think that you and your focus on making sure that Western North Carolina is not going to be forgotten is absolutely critical. I am so thankful for the thousands upon thousands of volunteers that have come into Western North Carolina to help these families, to help every family here in Western North Carolina. You cannot put words on what a value it is. And the fact that this is a strong community, this is a community of faith, and this is a community of family. And North Carolina, Western North Carolina is absolutely going to be back. They are going to be stronger than ever. And with your leadership, we will make sure that this part of the state, that this part of the country is never forgotten and will be back again. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you.
Linda, would you say a few words? Linda McMahon.
Thank you very much. And I'm also a North Carolinian, but I'm from the eastern part of the state. I grew up in New Bern, so we were used to the storms down there. But for this storm to come up, the trajectory that it did into this area was nothing short of just astounding that happened, and I'm so sorry. You know, I had the privilege of a lifetime of serving at the SBA administrator under President Trump, and I can tell you that SBA would have been on the ground with FEMA in this area, working to get people back in their businesses, getting their home loans processed, because we'd want the economy to get back on track. So hopefully you're going to have that service. If you don't have it now, you will. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Do you have any questions, please?
Mr. President.
Please.
We've heard from several of your Republican colleagues, including Senator Tom Tillis, asking for Congress to reconvene so that more federal funding can be brought to Western North Carolina. Do you expect to ask your colleagues to return to Congress?
Well, I would be in favor of it. Yeah, this is a very unusual situation, and I would be in favor of it. Now, you know, in theory, they're supposed to have it, but they spent a lot of money on bringing illegal migrants, people that came into our country illegally, and taking them in, and all of the money they've spent, numbers that nobody can even believe. So they don't have any money for the people that live here. They got hit by one of the worst storms, possibly the worst storm ever, but one of the worst storms in the history of our country. And it's a shame, because they should have the money. They spent money that I don't believe they're supposed to be spending for that, as you know. So I think it's a disgrace what happened with FEMA, what's happened with their rescue effort. Their rescue effort was almost non-existent. And by the way, I want to thank a man who was really incredible. When I came here, close to here, but not, I couldn't come here because it was not the appropriate thing, as I told you. But I got to know a couple of people from North Carolina, officials that were terrific, doing a very good job, very much involved. And they said, do you know Elon Musk? I said, I happen to know the gentleman. What's your problem? Do you think you could get Starlink? I said, what is Starlink? Explain to me. That was communication. Because as you know, your communication, I see the poles all ripped down all over. You had almost no communication here. And I said, so what do you need? He said, we need Starlink and we can't get it. There's nobody that knows anything about how to get it. So I called Elon, and literally, actually, strange, before I hung up, they called that man that I spoke to. I said, Elon, I just asked you, and we're still on the phone. How'd you do that? So he did. I don't think he wanted to tell me, but it was pretty amazing. And he got it here really in record time. There was some delays that shouldn't have happened on behalf of the federal government, but that was straightened out. But he had Starlink here, and your communications went from non-existent to probably almost better than what it was before. And so I want to thank Elon Musk for having done a great job. He took care of a very important need. Probably saved a lot of lives, because this was really an emergency, and you had it here like almost instantly. It's very hard to get too. It's been pretty popular and very hard to get. Thank you.
Mr. President, clearly a lot of people here are looking to you to save them and bring them relief, and what better way than to win the White House in 2 weeks?
Right.
I know that you're happy with early results. Are you satisfied with everything this state is doing the election boards to help these people get to the ballot box? Are you satisfied with it?
Well, I'm not hearing the good things about the governor here like I'm hearing about the governor in Georgia, as an example. I'm hearing the governor in Georgia has done a very good job, and I don't really know the governor here, but I'm not hearing that he's done a very good job. So that's the only thing I can say. And certainly you have all heard the same stories that we all hear, that FEMA has done a very poor job. Our FEMA, when we had a problem, we did record rescues, and what the job that FEMA did under the Trump administration was really incredible. But they had spent, in all fairness to FEMA, they had spent hundreds of millions of dollars doing other things that I don't think bear any relationship to this money. They were not supposed to be spending the money on taking in illegal migrants, maybe so they could vote in the election, because that's a lot of people are saying that's why they're doing it. I don't know. I hope that's not why they're doing it. So they really didn't have any money. They don't have very much money. And now they're saying, can we have a special vote? Let's have a special session. I'm in favor of that, but somebody has to get back to why did they spend hundreds of millions of dollars on something that they were not supposed to be spending it on, okay?
Are you worried that some people here won't be able to vote?
Look, voting is the least of it right now. They got to vote. They want to vote because it's very important, but they have to survive. That's why I can't believe the early voting. I mean, the early voting is records. I can't, when they told me that, I was shocked. I got a call from Michael Watley. He said, "Sir, you're not going to believe this, but they're setting records in North Carolina voting." And it's just that they're great people. I mean, they lost their house and they're standing outside voting. So obviously we want them to vote, but we want them to live and survive and be happy and healthy, because this is really a tragedy. It's really something. Yeah, please.
Is there any, and to that point, is there any concern or specific reasoning that you have to believe at this point in time, 3 weeks in, that the results of the election in North Carolina will not be credible or legitimate because of the storms happening?
No, I think in a way it's the opposite. I mean, we're so impressed, and I think they have a pretty good system here. And Michael Watley was responsible to a certain extent, and the new people that took Michael's place, I think, I have not heard any complaints about that. I mean, the amazing thing is they've come from nobody even knows. Everybody knows them, and it was like they have no home. They stayed in the woods, and I heard cases where they're staying in the woods because they wanted to vote, and then they voted, and then they went wherever they went, and they're going to come back hopefully and rebuild, and hopefully I'll be the one that helps them rebuild, and we'll help them. But no, these are incredible people, incredible spirit and heart. Very few people, I mean, who would do that? It's a great state, really great state.
Maybe help you politically?
I don't know if it helped. I don't even like to think about it that. I mean, it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. But the fact that they'd come out and vote in record numbers is pretty amazing to me.
Mr. President,
Yes.
if you could speak directly to those voters who lost everything and then went to the polls and voted, what would you say?
Well, the first thing I'd say is, we love you, because that's really something special, really. For them to do that, I was surprised. I figured we'd have 50%, 30% of the vote. We had record votes compared to the last elections, last presidential elections even. But compared to any election, and you're reporting on it also. I think you were probably surprised like I was. But I would just say you're special people. These are special people. These are people with heart. These are people that love your state. They love our country. Very special people. I would have been, I mean, honestly, I would have been happy if we had 50%. How can it be possible? And these tend to be Trump areas. I mean, not to get too political, but they tend to be very Trump areas. And that the people would come out like that, I think it's a great sign. It's a great sign.
Devastation compared to what you've seen previously?
Well, I've seen some pretty bad devastation. I've seen the tornado devastations, and they're pretty incredible. This is much more spread out, but you would see a line like it was cut by a razor blade of a tornado that went through an area, and it was literally a foot left, it was perfect, and a foot right, it was down to dirt, big trees ripped out and thrown, miles away, the power of the tornado. So I've seen that, but that was a much narrower thing, but you certainly didn't want to be in the way of it. I've seen trailer parks where they were there and very nice, and they were literally, there wasn't a thing left. The pipes were ripped out of the ground. So I've seen some pretty bad ones. I've seen some really bad ones, yeah.
Mr. President, what is your message to the undecided voters here in North Carolina?
1 second, please.
The devastation that you've seen here in Florida, does it incline you in any way towards drastic acts of climate change?
Well, climate change, we want, as I say, we want crystal clear, beautiful water, and we want clean air. And we had that during the Trump administration, but we also had the best job numbers in the history of our country. We weren't losing jobs. We want, in terms of climate change, because when you look at the rest of the world and you look at China and you look at the fact that they spent no money on climate change, I mean, John Kerry goes over and he speaks to President Xi, and they yes him, and then laugh at him as he leaves, and they do what they're doing. We spend a lot of money in this country. We have to. It's a double entendre. But you know what? I'll tell you what. We had the cleanest air on record, and we had the cleanest water on record, and that's very important. And we also had the best economy in the history of our country. So we had everything going well. And so I'm very much into that, but I really focus on the water and the air. Very important. Yes, ma'am, please. Independent voters? Oh, undecided? Well, it's hard to believe you have undecided voters. I do hear about them, but you possibly do. But I think, look, if you believe in what's happening with the polls, if you believe in what's happened, they have a new phenomenon now, we'll call them the betting polls. I don't know if people are gambling on them. I can't imagine that's a proper thing to do, but perhaps they are. But one of them just came out, I guess the big one, we're 63 to 33, something like that. That's a pretty big margin. I don't know if they know what they're doing. I have no idea who they are, but it's a very big poll. They quote it all the time on television. And we're at 63, and they're in the 30s, meaning they, meaning her. But I don't think she's qualified to be running. I really don't. And I think she is a threat to democracy, our democracy, the way they took it away from Biden. And I'm not a fan of Biden, but remember this, he got 14 million votes. She got no votes, and she was, in fact, the first one to quit out of 22 people. And she's running. So, you would call that probably a threat to democracy. But we seem to be doing very well in the polls. Thank you. Yeah, please.
50 days until the election.
Yes.
Focus will end to these final.
Well, I've gone 52 days without a day off, which all of these people would respect, but they do it the same because they're just like, we're called workers, right? We're workers. For better or worse, we're workers. I don't know if it's the best thing. We didn't have to be. A lot of them didn't have to be. I didn't have to be. I could have been on a beautiful beach, but I'd much rather be right here with you because we're going to turn the country around. Beyond the area, we're going to turn the whole country around. Look, my message is that I've been going full blast. Yesterday, you saw that. We had early in the morning till late in the evening, we left the football game. We went to a McDonald's yesterday. That was quite a stop. We had thousands and thousands. They had 25,000 people around circling the the building. I wouldn't say that Secret Service was thrilled, but that's the way it is. It was a love fest, though. It was incredible, and it did take off. It took off, and then we did 2 more stops. We did a town hall, big town hall, with Sage and some people, and it was very successful. But no, the McDonald's stop was very unique. There's no question about that. They really, I'm sure McDonald's liked it, but it just took off. You know, you never know about life, and you never know what's good, what's bad. You do something that's going to be great, it's okay, and you do something that's supposed to be okay. This was supposed to be a routine stop, and it turned into a monster, but it was a beautiful monster. There was a lot of love. I'll be doing the same thing. I'm going to be campaigning. I have no days off, so I'll be going into the 60s or 70s in terms of no days off. I don't want a day off. We have to win. We have to win. We have to save our country, and we have to just make America great again. That's the message, and it's a simple message, and everybody behind me believes in it just as strongly as I do. I know every one of these people, either through who they are or what they do. I know every one of them. They're hardworking people, they're great people, and they love our country and the state. Okay, maybe 1 or 2 more. Yes, please. I can't hear you. You have to speak louder.
Okay, yeah. Federal officials have said that there were already plans to send Starlinks before you spoke with Elon Musk.
There were already plans to get Starlink. Well, they didn't get it because all I know is a top official who was working, who happens to be a Republican, was very concerned that they didn't have any communication and they weren't able to get Starlink. And I called Elon, who endorsed me, who gave me one of the most beautiful endorsements of anybody, frankly. And he was, he's celebrating the launch and the landing of the most incredible landing of a rocket that I've ever seen. I called him up. I said, "Is that your rocket?" "Yep." I said, "Can Russia do that?" "Nope. And they won't be able to for a lot of years." And I said, "What about China?" "Nope, they can't do it." "What about the USA outside of you?" "No, they can't do it either." No, he's a unique character, I'll tell you. He's great. He's great. A lot of spirit, and he's certainly a brilliant guy. And we're lucky, but in this case, the Starlink, I've learned a lot about it. It's incredible. You don't need the wires, you don't need digging, you don't need anything. It goes right up to a satellite and comes right back down. And he did a fantastic job. I don't know, maybe they were trying, but certainly he didn't know about it. Nobody knew about it. And, obviously they weren't able to get it.
Mr. President Trump, an armed gunman was arrested and charged with making threats against FEMA workers 2 Saturdays ago. FEMA had a safety stand down because of continued credible threats. Is it helping the recovery effort in North Carolina to keep making these claims that FEMA's not doing their job?
Well, I think you have to let people know how they're doing. If they were doing a great job, I think we should say that too, because I think they should be rewarded. But if they're not doing, does that mean that if they're doing a poor job, we're supposed to not say it? These people are entitled to say it. And these are honest people behind us. If FEMA were doing well, they would be saying they did a good job. They're not, for the most part, political people. For the most part, they're not political people. But you've obviously seen nothing but, very bad statements coming out about the job that FEMA and this administration has done, having to do with this area, North Carolina as a whole. And by the way, other states also, they're also complaining. But look, a lot of the money is gone. They don't have any money. They have to have a meeting in Washington, a special meeting in Washington to get money. It's all gone. They've spent it on illegal migrants. Many of them are murderers. Many of them are drug dealers. Many of them come out of mental institutions and insane asylums. And many of them are terrorists. And they spent money to bring these people into our country, and they don't have money to take care of the people from North Carolina and other states. So, I think you have to be able to speak. Does that mean let's not talk about it? Because by doing that, they'll do a better job the next time. It's very important. Yeah, one more question.
Mr. President, since Chairman Watley is here, have you, 2 weeks out from the election, have either of you seen any cheating incidents of cheating that leads you to believe that this election will not be fair?
Well, I haven't. Unfortunately, I know the other side, and they are not good. But I have not seen. Michael, have you seen anything that looks suspicious? We're very early in the process. But
Yeah, we're very early in the process, and we're tracking across all 50 states right now to make sure that the systems that we want to have in place are in place, and we're very happy with the initial results.
And how likely are you to win North Carolina in your country?
Let me ask you, do you think I'll win North Carolina?
He'll win.
I think so. I think we're going to do good, and we have Lara. So, Lara is a fantastic person, an unbelievably smart person, works with Michael and everybody else, knows everybody here, and she loves this state. They named their daughter Carolina, so that's a pretty good, that's off to, but she's fantastic. So Laura is here, and she's here in the state right now, working in another part of the state, but she loves this place, and she's got a big voice. She's got a big voice, a very smart person, very good person. I want to thank everybody. We're going to another section, as you know, of North Carolina. We're going to do 2 more, and so maybe we'll see you then. But I want to just thank all of the people behind me. They want to get back to work, and thank you all very much. Great. Thank you. Beautiful words. Thank you, President Trump.
All right, Donald Trump is speaking out in Asheville, North Carolina.
All right, so I was just sitting around planning the rest of the day because we have 2 more events today. We've got the rally in Greenville, North Carolina, and then we've got the faith-based meeting tonight in Concord, North Carolina. And I was getting those things set up, and then all of a sudden, I just see the pop-up that Trump's doing a press conference. So I'm like, I got to hit the buttons real quick, see if anybody wants to see it with no notice. Thank you guys for all tuning in. We got 2 more shows today. We've got at 2:30, which is 2 hours from now, the rally in Greenville, North Carolina. And then at 6 o'clock, I believe, the faith-based meeting in Concord. So please come on back for that. A couple things I wanted to touch on. His schedule. I mean, I thought I was doing okay. I saw him go to McDonald's, which we'll talk about at 2:30. Then he went to the Pittsburgh Steelers and New York Jets game and watched the Pittsburgh Steelers destroy the New York Jets. Then, and that game probably didn't get over till maybe 11 o'clock, 11:30. Don't know if he stayed for the whole thing. And then gets in a plane and flies over to Asheville, North Carolina. Whew. Talk about a guy who wants this. We got to vote for him. Secondly, he talked about the undecided, which I have been saying in my videos over and over and over. There's no such thing. You'd have to be an utter moron right now to have not made your choice whether you're going to vote for Trump or you're going to vote for the idiot. The only thing I think is happening right now is that they're clawing people away from Kamala. I don't think there's many people being clawed away from the right. I think they're coming away from Kamala going, yeah, I don't think so. And I think last night she made it even worse. So you just saw Trump just up there in front of some people, and he does a press conference, and there's not a single teleprompter thing up there. Yeah, he had some notes. I don't care about that. I'm talking about teleprompter. Where is the one place, if you were true, where would be the one place you wouldn't need a teleprompter? You see, after throwing people out of her rally for saying Jesus is Lord, the baby remover in chief decided she was going to try and, make up her personality look a little bit better. So she goes to a church in Atlanta. And if you guys haven't seen this just ticked me off to no end. And I want to point it out so you can tell other people. Those 2 glass things you see on either side of the stage, those are teleprompters. She got up in the pulpit of a church in Atlanta and started telling us about the Bible, telling people in the congregation about the Bible, trying to talk about the Good Samaritan. She tried to relate to the parable, and she needed a teleprompter. Now, I'm not going to profess to be the best person who knows the Bible. Not even close. I'm not going to pretend that I'm a pastor. But I know, like that gentleman who just prayed with Trump, if you truly have a heart for the Lord, you don't need a teleprompter. I don't know the full story about the Good Samaritan, but I pretty much could paraphrase the story without needing a teleprompter. I would tell the people in the audience, say, listen, I don't know the exact verse. I haven't memorized verses like some of y'all did. But I can tell you, this man, and I would go through the story about the Good Samaritan. One of my favorite passages is Matthew 6:25-34. I can't quote it, but I can tell you what it says. What it says is, don't worry. Don't worry about how you're going to make money. Don't worry about how you're going to, what clothes you're going to have. Don't worry about what food you're going to have, because the Lord is going to take care of you. And I don't need a teleprompter. This woman stepped into a church a couple of days after throwing some people out of her rally for complaining about baby removal, and she thought it was a good idea to bring teleprompters into a church. Which tells you, is there nothing real about this woman? I mean, seriously, is there literally nothing she can do without being force-fed the information? I was embarrassed for her. I was embarrassed for everybody in that congregation. Everyone in that congregation should have stepped up and said, get out. You're a blaspheme. Get out. Turn your back. You're looking at a advocate of the devil who's reading a teleprompter to try and get you to influence you to vote for her. How sick. Many of us have been in churches all our lives. We've gone to various masses, if you're Catholic, or services, if you're Baptist, and not one single time, even when there's been, guest speakers, I have never seen anyone speak, sermonize with a teleprompter. It's disgusting. And if people don't see these things, if you can't look at this and seeing, hey man, you are being deceived. This thing here, those two things on either side of the picture, that's a teleprompter screen. I didn't see many people post about it, but I believe this gentleman did. He's like, no, he didn't even say it. He goes, Kamala Harris goes to the black church to pander for votes, twisting scripture as well, because she didn't even get it right, and she had a teleprompter. I don't know about y'all. That just makes me sick. That makes me want to puke. That you just couldn't be a real person in church? I don't care if you stumbled. I don't care if you stuttered. Jesus, I love you. I want to do the best thing for this country. And if you feel that I'm the person that can lead this country, I pray that you'd vote for me. You don't need a teleprompter if you feel it. That's how fake this woman is. And I urge you all to let people know. This woman needed a teleprompter in a church. There's nothing much lower than that I feel. My teachers don't need teleprompters. My business managers doesn't need a teleprompter. My boss doesn't need a teleprompter. My preacher doesn't need a teleprompter. My youth worship leader doesn't need a teleprompter. The kids singing in church don't need a teleprompter. But you're telling me my president needs a teleprompter in church? I ain't having it. Ain't having it at all. Last thing I want to show you and it'll help me calm down and get back to my work, is this is what he was referring to, and somebody else had posted it as well. We're talking about the poly market numbers. Nobody knows how valuable this stuff is. We shall see. But this, let me refresh it. Keeps going up. 62.5 to 37.6. Just saying, these are people betting, putting their own money down, don't know what it means. Nobody really knows right now, how is this thing so much different than the polls? Somebody going to have some splaining to do on November 6th. Because if this turns out better, as a better barometer than these pollsters are out of business. Which I think they should be anyway. So, in any event, what else did I want to say? FEMA. The fact that the left keeps saying, hey, you shouldn't talk bad about FEMA. And I loved the answer that Trump gave. And that answer was, if somebody sucks, I'm going to say they suck. I'm not just going to stay quiet because they might get upset. They don't walk on water. Although Kamala might think they did as well. But they didn't walk on water. There was only one perfect man. And so you're telling me I can't even talk about your failure. I can't talk about your incompetence. Why? Because you're the government? Hey, you do well? Let's applaud you. You suck? Let's talk about it. Let's let people know you suck. I'm pretty sure every restaurant in the country works on that premise. I'm pretty sure every movie that's ever released works on that premise. Every album, CD, works on that premise. Hey, did you like it? No, it sucked. Thank you. I won't waste my money. Hey, FEMA sucks. Don't talk bad about us. You know, we're not like chicken wings. We're FEMA. We're from the government. We're here to help. GFY. Go after yourself. If these people need help and your one job is to deliver help and you don't do it, yeah, we're going to talk about it. So, anyway, that's what that is. It's amazing to me that they want people to cover for them. Absolutely. Barry, that's Eddie Longchurch, dead pastor, sued for, really? A married home, right? Oh, I did not know that. That's very, very interesting. Wow. The people of North Carolina have lost everything, including loved ones, have a right to speak about their experience. Absolutely. Absolutely. This ain't no Rotten Tomatoes. This is life and death. This is good and evil. Something's going on. People need to know about it. Someone give that woman a fresh bottle. Yeah, she's on stage. Two young men went there where the mainstream media won't go. It's crazy. So I'm not going to take you guys and stay on too long here because I got to get my dog walked. Got to get to the mail place, the post office. People still use post offices. Yeah, unfortunately we do. And then I got to get back here and get the show ready for 2 o'clock. There's a lot going on, but I just saw that, and thank you guys for jumping on. Let me go ahead. Probably won't be a whole lot of, let me see here, super chats, but I just have to make sure I acknowledge these guys because that's what we do here. All right, so thank you very much. Oh, by the way, with your generosity, and I was going to make a whole show about it, but Trump's in Asheville, so we'll talk about it now, and we'll come back to it and talk about it when it happens. With your generosity and what we matched as well, we have a check in excess of like $7,500 going to Samaritan's Purse. Thank you very, very much, and we ain't done yet. Still compiling stuff. It takes Google about 30 days for they release funds, so there'll be another check coming in mid-November, but thank you. Miller Yellow, I'm sickened that Trump and his group are not visiting Washington State. We have strong Republican candidates here that need his support. This is an important election. I understand that, but for the way it is right now, unless you guys change it out there, Washington's not a swing state, and it's pretty much in the Democrats' camp at this point, so there's only so many resources you can put to a certain location. Deborah Kirby, thank you very much. And Coin Hello doo-doo. I'm not really sure what that means, but in any event, thank you very much. All right, so I'm going to get out of here. I want to thank all you guys for tuning in on this quick impromptu show that I had just to jump in, but we'll be back here at 2 o'clock in an hour plus. Talk to you guys in just a little while. Thanks for tuning in. And yeah, we're going to be, oh, by the way, but before you go, please go ahead and join what is now nearly 5,000 Patriots in the fanfareshop.org/group. Join it, and I have a special video coming out later today about something I can't talk about here on YouTube. All right, talk to you guys